Today we discuss the abduction at Devil's Den. We'll start by exploring the life of Terry Lovelace, arguably one of the more well-respected and credible sources we've ever discussed during an abduction story. We'll then dive into his experience. What happened to Terry and his friend during a camping trip? What did they witness in the sky? Were they abducted? And why would anyone want to go camping? We'll cover all of this and much more. I'm Mike.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Dave. If you missed us last week, stick around. Because I'm now COVID-free, Mike already has to pee, and Ian, he did so much weed, he thinks his name is Yee. This is Necronomipod.
Former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid thinks it is time for the Pentagon to open up its secret UFO files.
The longtime Nevada lawmaker admits that he did sponsor a secret study that was coordinated by a Las Vegas contractor. But very little of what was produced by the study has been made public.
So what's hiding in those files, and when do we get to see them? George Knapp is here live in studio with a preview of his report.
I know, that's the question, right?
It is.
Where is it? Well, for more than a year, the public has heard about this secret study initiated by Senator Harry Reid and other lawmakers. The study continued for years, but whatever files or reports it created, very little of that material has been made public. As the I-Team first reported, the company which landed the contract for the program was a...
There's a lot of concerned listeners out there, Dave. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I appreciate all the well wishes received. Thank you for your concern and caring. I'm good to go, though.
I think you might have faked it just so you guys get a fucking week off. I'm not entirely convinced.
I assure you that is not the case.
It's been a while since we've recorded.
Yeah, almost like 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Wasn't that bad. Wasn't as bad as I expected COVID to be. I thought I was immune there for a while. I didn't really take any precautions over the past couple years.
Yeah.
Like crazy anyway. And I just thought I wasn't going to catch it, but boom. It was a really bad sore throat. That's it. Like I didn't have any breathing problems or I didn't have any coughing. I didn't lose smell or taste or anything like that. Just a really bad sore throat. So I just laid on the couch for a week. It didn't suck.
In your nice, cool, air-conditioned basement, watching movies.
Wasn't the worst thing I've ever done.
Eating ice cream to soothe your sore throat.
I got some sherbet. Yeah, I didn't want to create mucus in case I came down with a cough. But yeah,
there you go.
Got some orange sherbet. It was delightful.
Sounds to me like a vacation. But you're back. You're good to go.
I am.
We're ready for a brand new episode.
I haven't had a cocktail in a long time.
Yeah, you're
almost close to 2 weeks. So
you're probably hammered.
I'm getting a little tipsy.
You're going to get vodka Dave tonight.
Had a couple of gin and tonics earlier. Just poured a stiff vodka tonic now. Feeling good. Careful
we don't do our mistakes of, putting the vodka in later and forgetting to top off with the water.
We've both done that.
We have, yeah. Well, we have such great conversations. We lose ourselves sometimes in them.
That's what happens. It's
This is why we need Declan to fucking get his bartender license, because I won't allow him to serve us alcohol until he gets there. Because he needs to know how to make a fucking proper cocktail. He'll learn. He'll get there.
I saw a lot of people wanted to apply for that position, Mike, after you threw that out there.
For our bartender?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, maybe so. Well,
I'd be drinking fruity, like pina coladas and Cosmopolitan.
Oh,
we had a bartender?
We'd put him to work. I want him fucking back there like shaking everything. I want like the fire on the shot, like all that fancy ass
look
stuff.
Like Tom Cruise in Cocktail in the corner over here if we hire a bartender.
And like Ted Danson and Curb, we will make sure they will be black tie. You're going to be dressing up when you serve us.
No low class shit here.
Yeah. Well, we'll be wearing like wrestling t-shirts and NASCAR shirts and whatever else, but they're going to be wearing black tie. Or the women wear bow ties when they do like the fancy, I think they do like in the catering and stuff.
They do if we're hiring them.
That's right.
No, I don't really know. Yeah, I suppose, right?
That sounds right.
Well, we'll come up with something no matter what. So, all right, we're back. Dave's good. He's feeling great. I promise that I will not once bring up the fact that about a year and a half ago, I too had COVID and we didn't miss a show. I promise I won't even bring that up and we'll just go on. You have my word.
I offered to do the show last week. All I said was I'm not at 100%. We agreed we did not want to put a subpar product out.
It's true. We would have had
I did not
record.
Flat out decline to do the show.
You were on a beach sipping a Mai Tai.
With your ridiculous statement.
That is true. You did offer to do it.
You weren't having that. You were the one that was like, no. We got on a good outline tonight.
I think we can have fun with this one.
The abduction ones are always good stories.
That's what Betty Hill said.
It was a good story. All right, let's get into it.
So the source material for this episode comes from Terry Lovelace's 2018 book, Incident at Devil's Den, and Coast to Coast episodes that he's been on. Getting into who Terry is, Terry Lovelace is now in his mid-60s, and when this happened, he was serving at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri.
In any relation to Linda Lovelace of Deep Throat fame in the 70s?
I don't believe so.
Okay, just checking. It's the only other famous Lovelace I know.
Terry finished up his military service in 1979 when he was honorably discharged as a staff sergeant. From there, Terry went on to earn a degree from Michigan Law School and a bachelor's degree in psychology from Park University. Terry started his legal career in private practice, then got hired as the Assistant Attorney General in the U.S. territory of American Samoa. After that, Terry worked as the Assistant Attorney General for the state of Vermont, and then he retired in 2012. So a pretty accomplished dude.
Yeah, he's not a slouch. He's not some meth head in the Everglades in Florida or making paper maches on the top of their roof getting abducted kind of thing.
I like how Ed Walters gets these random things put on him, like meth head. Every time we talk about him, there's some random
Not that
thing.
there's anything wrong with being a meth head in the Everglades. I'm just comparing and contrasting.
I would never accuse someone of being a drug addict unfairly like that.
So the abduction we're going to talk about tonight happened back in June of 1977. The first thing people asked Terry is why he waited so long. And his answer makes sense. He didn't want to fuck up his career by telling people that he was abducted by aliens. And the second thing, the topic of UFOs and aliens is a lot more acceptable today. Terry points out Tom DeLonge leaking those Navy videos in 2017 in the New York Times story about it as inspiration for telling his story. Ever since that story broke with those videos, the floodgates kind of opened for really credible people, especially military people, to come forward and talk about this stuff publicly.
Yeah, I believe that's legitimate. You're an assistant prosecutor, assistant DA in 1977. You come out talking about being abducted by aliens. You lose all legitimacy.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's true today.
Even still today, I think to a small extent, there's going to be a population of people who look at you and think you're a wacko. I don't think it's fully accepted yet.
Not
back
fully,
then,
but much more so. I mean, you have Navy pilots acknowledging that they've seen UFOs, and I think it's much more mainstream and acceptable.
Sure, but what I'm saying is it's still not where it should be, probably, with people accepting it, let alone
absolutely not
40 years ago.
But I can understand the concern with why you would wait until you're retired to put this out in the public realm.
I agree.
I think once Tom DeLonge did that, and then you have guys like Harry Reid coming out and saying okay, yeah, there was a defense person that went to Skinwalker Ranch. They saw something regarding a portal. That's why we're interested.
Yeah. When the Senate Majority Leader is kind of confirming some of this stuff, absolutely.
And he's the one talking about portals.
Yeah.
If Harry Reid's talking about portals on camera, it's pretty fucking crazy.
Might be some portals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to point out before we get into the episode is something Terry said about these beings that he encountered. When you pair it with how cold he describes these beings and what we've talked about in the past with claims of a hybrid program, I find this really fucking creepy. Terry said that he thinks humans have a soul, like there's a consciousness that we have, and he said that these beings don't have that stuff, but they really want it. That really creeps me out.
Well, souls is souls. Everyone wants one, right?
It's like the Men in Black thing. I picture that a little bit. They don't know they want to be like us, but they can't figure it out.
One little piece off.
Yeah.
Is that piece the soul? Makes an interesting discussion point.
So back in June of 1977, while serving at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, Terry had the opportunity for what sounds like a weekend furlough. Terry was good friends with the guy that he was serving with named Toby. Toby's not his real name. Terry said that Toby was fine with him telling his story, just to use a pseudonym. Terry suggested that the two of them go out camping for the weekend. And the way Terry tells it, he's like, yeah, we're military guys and we have survival skills, but neither of us have ever been camping. Like, we're both from cities, and it doesn't sound great. Toby ended up talking him into it and already had a spot picked out, which was Devil's Den State Park.
Big difference between having survival skills and a desire to use them, right?
Yeah.
You guys have neither, so it doesn't really matter. But
I have no desire to even attempt to learn them either.
Yeah, no, I don't care to learn them.
Could you rub a couple sticks together and make a fire with some...
Yeah, but then your hands get dirty and like the calloused. My survival skills.
You'd rather freeze to death than have a callus?
No, I wouldn't put myself in a situation where that needed to be done. My survival skills are like, can I wake up by 10 a.m. to make it downstairs to continental breakfast? Most of the time? Nope, that doesn't happen. But that's about as sort of tough of a situation I like to put myself in.
He's got to give the front desk clerk a 20 before when he checks in to save a couple muffins for him. Yeah, he can't make it to breakfast.
Put a few of those rock hard bagels to the side for me, won't you? Thanks.
Devil's Den State Park covers 2,500 acres in northwestern Arkansas, and it's named after a cave in the area called Devil's Den. We've talked about Devil's Den State Park in our Missing 411 episodes, and specifically the case of Catherine Van Ars.
Crossover episode!
We've had a lot of crossover episodes recently.
Yeah.
Stuff we've talked about.
All this shit ties together, right? At some time, at some point.
Oh, yeah,
in some way.
It certainly sounds like Devil's Den State Park is not a place you should ever want to go.
I'm not going there.
Oh.
You know where I want to go in Arkansas is that Diamond Mine State Park where you can go dig for diamonds and keep anything you find. Ever hear of that place?
No, that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's south of here. I think it's south of here. Hey, just go. It's just an open 1,000 acres or whatever. You dig for diamonds. People find diamonds. You keep what you...
South of the state park, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Arkansas.
I was like, clearly it's south of it. It's in Arkansas, pal. We're in Ohio. Yeah.
That'd be cool, right? Digging for diamonds?
I mean, if I'm going to go to Arkansas, I at least would like to leave with some diamonds.
Have you ever been to Arkansas?
I think I've just driven through it. I was thinking about this before.
Yeah.
I think I've just driven through.
I've been to Texarkana one time.
Yeah.
It's right on the border of Texas and Arkansas, if you couldn't, if you didn't know that by the name.
So if we remember, Catherine was 8 years old when she disappeared in 1946, and it was classic Missing 411 stuff. Her family turned for a second, and then she was gone. Catherine's case was one of those where she reappeared days later, and she was found in the Devil's Den cave with no clear recollection of how she got there or the 6 days that she was missing. She didn't have like any scratches or anything. It was like she just reappeared in that cave.
So if you think about the story we're about to hear, might a similar occurrence be with how Catherine was maybe in the early stages of this program, perhaps, before they perfected kind of how they were going to do these sorts of things?
Because Catherine's case was way back. Did I put that in there?
The 40s.
Yeah,
right?
46.
Maybe in the early stages.
Possibly. Because that's even before Roswell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly an answer, and there was no other answers for that, right?
No answers. No answers.
Yeah, that one is really fucking weird because where she was last seen versus where that cave was.
Miles.
There's no way she was getting there.
Right. It's like the other kid that was up 20 miles up a hill.
Right.
With no way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
This makes just as much sense as any other theory you can throw out.
And she was hydrated and stuff. Like she wasn't
close to death or anything.
Yeah, she was fine.
After 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
Which how's that possible?
Right.
Unless wolves were taking care of her or something.
Yeah, like it was the Jungle Book or something.
Right.
So the evening after they had gotten to a spot that they wanted to camp, Terry and Toby set up their tent. And this was around that time in the evening where the sky is really dark blue, almost black. Like you can clearly see the stars, but the sky still has some blue to it.
That's a cool time of night.
Toby looked up and pointed out 3 stars to Terry and said that they looked like they were moving. The 3 stars were in a triangle shape, and as they were looking at them, the stars did a full 360 rotation while staying in that triangle formation. At that point, the stars stopped and started to move straight up into the air. The higher they got, the further apart they got while keeping that triangle formation. As these stars moved apart, the stars in the sky started to black out. And at that point, they realized that this was a giant jet black triangle shaped craft that just kind of expanded in front of them.
Are you mildly nervous at this point? Are you starting to freak out? What are you guys thinking?
I would be standing there kind of in
a cautionary stance, kind of on guard.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean,
what seems to be happening here?
You think it's like cool. Like, what are you seeing? But
Right.
then like, well, what the fuck's going to happen next? I'm already camping. So
Kind of the hair
out of my element.
kind of the hair in the back of your neck, standing up. You're kind of like,
Yeah.
this is unusual.
Trying to process what that would be.
I'd be clapping.
That's fucking awesome.
Isn't it
Give me
great?
another Bush Light, fellas.
Isn't it great when we reference jokes that we talk about off air and no one knows what the fuck we're talking about?
It's true.
We just hate humans and how like we have to clap for everything. It's so fucking obnoxious.
It's very obnoxious.
Ian, you can tell your little quick story about that.
I went on a vacation. There was water where I could see the sunrise and set. And every time that I wanted to watch the sunset, I wanted to do a weed and watch it. There was multiple old white people that would clap when the sun fully set.
We haven't seen that before.
So
This is
weird.
new. And then Dave brought up how people clap when planes land and you're on the plane. Get the fuck out of here.
Or at the movie theater.
At the movie theater.
Like the people that made this movie aren't here. What are you clapping about?
It's just so obnoxious.
With the sun, it's even weirder. Like, what are you clapping for?
What did you expect to happen?
Are you clapping for God doing it again, like for another day, or what's going on?
It's a miracle. Like, were they genuinely concerned it wasn't going to set this time? What was what made them so excited that it happened? And what did they think the next morning when it came back up?
They probably clapped again. I mean, I don't know.
God, we fucking suck.
They probably thought to themselves,
I'm
like,
glad
oh,
the aliens
thank
are
God for
wiping us
another
out.
day.
It's like the Neanderthals when they discovered fire. Like,
At least they had a reason, though, to be excited, right? Like, you discovered fire. Ugh. Clapping.
So at that point, once these what they thought were stars expanded, Terry said that the craft stopped, hovered, and everything went silent. The triangle craft was silent, like 99% of all UFO encounters, but all the animals went silent too.
like a cloaking system, but for audio.
Yeah, like everything just dead silent.
That's different.
And he specifically pointed out tree frogs because the woods were full of them and everything just silent. Then Toby pulled some fire in the sky type shit. And instead of being scared or just kind of sitting back and watching the UFO, he decided that he was going to signal it. Toby grabbed a flashlight and flashed it 3 times. Seconds later, a white beam came out of the center of the triangle and centered on their campfire. This wasn't a huge beam of light. Terry said it was about 6 inches in diameter. After a minute, the white beam disappeared, and then it was replaced by a pencil-thin blue beam of light.
Is 6 inches in diameter a lot, Mike? Is that big?
I think that's about 6 times bigger than average.
Average of what?
Whatever you're asking me about, Val.
What about a beam of light?
I thought you were making a penis joke. No, I don't give a fuck. It's a beam of light. It's not my fictional story.
This beam didn't move around like continuous movement. Terry described it like a light switch. It would go on, then disappear, and then reappear in another spot around their campsite. As quick as these beams of light started moving around their campsite, they stopped, at which point Toby said, quote, "I guess the show's over." And then Terry said it was like both of them just passed out and fell asleep.
How do you sleep after that? That's like 6 cool down beers you're going to need after seeing that, right?
You'd imagine so. Sounds like they maybe didn't even try to fall asleep. They just fell
out,
asleep.
right?
Yeah. Something put them out.
Yeah. Terry's next memory was just hearing noise. He compared it to an engine running, not necessarily loud, but you could feel it. Terry said it was like standing next to a train and being able to feel the sound in your chest. As he opened his eyes, all he could initially see was what he said was a whitish green light. And when he tried to move, Terry said that he was in a lot of pain, like every muscle in his body was sore.
They sleep on the ground. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Terry realized that they were now inside their tent, So he rolled over and got up to his knees. Terry looked up to see Toby was on his knees looking out of the little window flap in the tent, and Toby was crying.
This sounds more like a sad glory hole than a camping trip.
Maybe there's an alien out there just face fucking Toby.
He's on his knees crying. Why am I doing this? This is an alien glory hole, isn't it? That's where the story's going.
Swerve, it just became a paranormal erotica.
Terry got over to the flap and looked out, and he said he saw what he initially thought were around 15 little kids paired in groups of threes wandering around the campsite. Terry started waking up, like fully awake and could process everything. And that's when he said that he realized that these beings weren't little kids. And now he was just as scared as Toby was.
Imagine if Terry was a priest, he would have been really disappointed, right?
Alien Chris Hansen shoots down.
He wakes up, he thinks there's 15 little kids running around outside. He's like, thank you, God! God damn it, fucking aliens.
Terry and Toby couldn't make out their faces, but Terry said that they were probably about 3 to 4 feet tall. Their heads were larger than human heads, but not too crazy, like melon heads or anything. He said they were still somewhat proportionate, and their arms were longer than they should have been. Like an example of that, he said that their fingertips touched their knees while they were walking around. Like a lot of encounters with the Greys, Terry said that the groups of threes moved in unison. He said that looking back, they reminded him of, quote, little worker bees. However, in this instance, Terry noticed something different, that their knees would kind of swivel from front to back when they walked, like their knees were hinged to move both ways.
That's creepy, right?
That would be super creepy.
Make a fortune in bukkake movies if you had double hinged knees like that, right? If your head swiveled like Linda Blair, you'd be a superstar in the porn world, right? Double hinged knees and a head on a swivel? Come on. You take care of the whole room without even moving. Superstar status.
Yeah.
I think so.
These beings started walking into this bright whitish green light that Terry presumed was coming from the UFO. When they walked into the light, they kind of dissolved, and once the beings were all gone, Terry said he felt a boom, and that's the only way he could describe it. And at that point, Terry and Toby were inside the UFO.
Like a tractor beam, Star Trek when they beam you up.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, and he couldn't describe it. He just said it was just like he said, boom.
Yeah. How do you describe that?
Yeah.
Right?
Star Trek, or is that like Star Rings? Like Revenge of the Hobbit? I've seen that one. I know what I'm talking about with that one.
Have you? What's that shirt I sent you guys the other day? I'm like, Mike should wear this to the first live show. Something like.
It combined a bunch of movies in one.
It's like in a Gandalf or something.
Yeah, it was like a Harry Potter quote, and underneath it said Gandalf.
But a Harry Potter quote about Star Wars.
It was
signed
like
Gandalf.
the Force is strong with you, Harry. Signed Gandalf.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, that sounds about right. That was from...
He didn't even know why it was funny, right? He's like, oh, I don't get it.
At first, I didn't. And I was like, oh, I think it's a bunch of movies. But I think that was from Battlestar Galactica. Well, Gandalf is. I know that.
Terry said that the inside of the craft did not match the outside, as in he felt the inside was way bigger than it should have been. He said that it was at least twice the size.
I pictured that Harry Potter tent when they went to the Quidditch World Championships.
Yeah.
They went in a little tent. It was just, you know,
I was thinking the same.
10,000 square feet inside.
Quidditch is the game with the brooms, right? They fly around.
Yeah.
It's like a mix of like lacrosse and soccer, and you're flying on brooms, right? Are they throwing the things?
Yeah.
See, I know what I'm talking about. That's my favorite. The Devil's Towers one.
Devil's Towers.
Harry Potter and the Hermione gangbang, right? Wasn't that the one?
With Teddy Roosevelt.
Rough Riders rolling on in. That really is the movie they should make. Was that a bonus show?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Never mind. Anyways.
It was like that and then DMX clip every 2 seconds.
That was a fun one. The thought of what's that called? Like fan fiction of Teddy Roosevelt banging out Hermione is the funniest thing in the world.
Necronomipod or patreon.com/necronomipod.
I couldn't tell you what fucking episode it was.
No, I have no idea. So inside this craft, everything was lit up. Like the panels along the floor, walls, and ceilings were all lit up bright white. Terry said that everything was white or stainless steel, and it was also bright that it hurt their eyes. Terry said that after this incident, he and Toby's eyes were both swollen shut. There's, I'm going to talk about it in a bit. They ended up with like sunburns all over them after this incident. The only other thing that they could see was 3 small disc-shaped crafts lined up in a row, like they were in some kind of a hangar type area.
A lot of 3s in this story.
Just like the Bible.
Is the Bible in 3s?
It was the Holy Trilogy, right? Like,
oh,
is that the only 3 you need in life?
Trinity?
Trilogy. See what I say? Trilogy?
No, you said Trilogy.
Did I say Trilogy? I think I was mixing Trilogy and Trinity. Do you need the Holy Trinity and Dale Earnhardt, right? Those are the only 3s you need in life. And any good man needs.
I can get down with that, sure.
And a case of beer and an assault rifle.
I mean, if you would.
Alas.
So Terry and Toby are standing there paralyzed, and all they could do was move around their eyes. Terry said that he was really trying to focus on what those 3 disc-shaped crafts looked like when he noticed a group of other people standing there frozen. He said that they were nude and a mix of men, women, and children. Terry said that they were all terrified, like he and Toby were, like their eyes were all darting back and forth.
Did it mention that Toby had a boner because of the children?
No, it did not.
Oh. Dave, I don't think your theory's holding up. Father Toby might not have been a priest.
I said he would have been let down if he were a priest.
Oh, to find out they weren't kids. Yeah, but I'm saying now they are kids. This was like the make good, right? Like they weren't down there, but up here, pal. They're all frozen, but then he's just got this huge heart on. Even like the aliens are like, what the fuck is going on? What is this?
His eyes are just darting back and forth. This with cocks growing
Quick,
up.
someone drain it. Just stick a needle in it. Drain the blood.
The aliens just shaking their heads.
This portion of Necronomipod brought to you by Blue Chew.
At the same time, he noticed another group of humans, but they weren't frozen. They were wearing tan uniforms with a round orange patch, and he guesses that there were 5 or 6 of them. Terry said that he specifically remembers one that appeared to be a Hispanic woman with her hair pulled back into a ponytail. He estimated that the males were around his age, which would have been like 22 years old, and said that they all looked like military guys. Terry never interacted with these people in the uniforms, and they wouldn't look at Terry, Toby, or the other people that were standing there in this paralyzed state.
Is the implication that these are sort of human collaborators then, working with the aliens, or maybe just some sort of hologram type thing? Not hologram, but like a deception to make them look human, to fit in more? Not sure.
I don't really know, because it doesn't... He never elaborates on this aspect of the story.
Is it worth a quick mention of Majestic 12 here?
With what?
With like the agreement Eisenhower is alleged to have made with allowing the Greys to kidnap people.
Yeah, we talked about that on Valiant Thor.
Yeah.
Was that a bonus show or
was
that
a bonus
regular
show?
show?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Patreon.com/.
But yeah, I mean, who's to say if that really happened, then humans could be working hand in hand with
But the idea was that Eisenhower signed a treaty with the Greys allowing them to kidnap and study humans as long as no one found out about it.
Right.
And the short story, the short part of that.
But if you're Lovelace and you're writing this and you want it to be realistic, the story, you don't have all the answers, right? It would make it probably more absurd if he did explain everything. Because if this really happened to him, you're not going to have all the answers. You're just going to describe what you saw. Sure. And that's smart from his writing to not get into it. Like you said, he just kind of touches on it and that's it.
Yeah, he just says, "This is what I saw."
That's probably smart.
I'm just trying to tie the scenario back to what we already know about, possible abduction
I think it would make sense if there was a backroom dealing going on with the Greys.
Eisenhower deployed troops up into space and they're working on this spaceship. Is that your theory right now, your working theory?
Well, no, he met the Greys at an Air Force base in California, from what I remember, and signed this agreement. So they were well within their rights to kidnap Toby and Terry because they had an agreement with Eisenhower.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were making a connection back to like the military-looking humans that they saw.
No, I don't know. I'm trying to talk through why they're human-looking people in tan uniforms.
The Greys
is it
like,
an illusion?
What the fuck?
Or
we had an agreement here.
Yeah.
Why do you all look so surprised?
Right. Was there a collaboration or assistance included in this supposed deal Eisenhower made? So, yeah, were they military? Were they...
Maybe that's why
I don't know.
They went after military people, because it was the government being like, hey, you're furloughed. You guys should go camp here. They're offering discounted rates.
Maybe they were spotters. Like, Terry and Toby are on leave this weekend up at Devil's Den.
Yeah. Yet
They got
again,
like $50 for each person that they pointed out that the successful abduction.
more questions and answers.
There's always more questions than answers.
One day we're going to get it right. Well, we solved John Benet Ramsey, right? We figured that one out.
Easily.
We did what fucking cops out there couldn't do.
Similar to Barney Hill's account of his abduction experience, Terry said that there was one being that seemed to be in charge. He said that the little gray beings were still moving in unison like worker bees, but there was one that was around 6 feet tall and wore a black uniform with a V-neck. He said this being had gray skin, but it had a pinkish tone to it. Terry said that this being never spoke to any of the little grays or anyone else. He just said that the way it moved around gave off the impression that it was in charge. And Barney Hill said something very similar. He said there was just one that seemed like it was in charge and he couldn't figure out why.
Someone's got to be in charge.
I feel like we've heard that a few times, though, throughout stories. Like, they can always, whoever's being abducted can always tell who the leader is.
Yeah,
like who's
it's like
in
this
charge,
unsaid thing.
Yeah.
Well, anytime you walk in a room and there's just one guy with a V-neck, he's automatically in charge.
With his spray on tan. I mean, his fucking
There's no question about it.
hair.
V-neck guy's in charge.
It's clearly never me, because I loathe V-necks. I hate V-neck shirts.
Yeah, I can't wear a V-neck.
Well, I won't buy them.
Is it because you're so hairy? You know, the hair just pops out over the shirt.
No, but that now I might do it. That could be fun. Like fluffing up my
Razor
chest
Ramon,
hair.
Mike.
There you go. Scott Hall did make chest hair cool. If he could pull it off, he could be the bad guy with that. Fuck yeah. I'm gonna start doing that now. I'm gonna
V-neck Mike. I like it.
I'm not sure. Well, I'm gonna have to really probably fluff it up. I don't know how far V-neck. How far do they come down?
I don't like right here.
Maybe they'll start wearing button-up shirts, but like 3 buttons buttoned. It's gonna have like just the open top, just sweaty, matted chest hair hanging out.
You gotta get like a big gold cross or something too. Italian horn.
Well, now I'm just being Mafia Mike. We're just bringing him to life now. Fucking just sitting around like at like a cookout, just like eating a sausage,
smoking a cigar,
drinking a Peroni, or
rubbing your Italian horn necklace. 14
I think
karat gold.
I like it better with the crucifix. I'm gonna do that.
Why not get both?
Can you do both?
Sure. You
Get a couple rings on my pinkies. Ow! And then just communicate like that.
Terry said that at one point he and this taller being made eye contact. And this is another time I'm just going to straight up quote Terry because I find this very creepy. He said, quote,
"In that millisecond, when we established contact with our eyes, that thing was in my head. It felt like it knew me. It knew my wife. It knew my plans. It knew my secrets. It knew everything about me. What I got back from those eyes was raw intellect. There wasn't an ounce of mercy or kindness or empathy or anything that's good. Nothing good. I got the feeling that it was there collecting information, like they were Darwin."
Like a soulless machine.
And that's how they're described, all the time.
But why does he think that they want to have a soul? Like, that almost makes me think like they want to have empathy. They want to have feelings. They want to have mercy. The way he explains that.
Yeah, I think that there's that theme there in all.
Like they're learning how to do that.
Yeah, like what we talked about, the Copley Woods UFO abduction.
Right.
Remember with that human hybrid thing, like they wanted abductees to hold the hybrid babies because they couldn't do it. They couldn't.
Yes.
they couldn't give that human affection or mimic it, whatever.
Is that also the same movie where Harry cucks Ron and bangs Hermione? Is that the
different movie, Mike?
Oh, fuck. Anyways, I would watch that movie.
That's Harry Twatter and the Adventures of something.
Was Ron with Hermione?
At the end of the story, yeah.
Yeah.
Harry never once cucked him with Hermione?
Well, there's that weird vision in the last one where Hermione and Harry were like clearly naked, like holding each other.
Oh, all right.
Remember? It was like Voldemort doing it, like making
Gandalf. Wrong movie, dipshit.
Making Ron see all like getting them all mad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's as close as the cucking
So
got.
a mental cuck.
Yeah. Voldemort did.
Harry was with Ron's sister, Mike.
What's her name? Spock. Layla. Leia. Chewbacca.
It's escaping me right now. I don't know.
R2-3PO. I'll get there. Now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. Life can be overwhelming, and many people are burned out without even knowing it. Symptoms can include lack of motivation, irritability, fatigue, and more. We associate burnout with work, but that's not the only cause. Any of our roles in life can lead us to feel burned out, and BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you to prioritize yourself. Talking with someone can help you figure out what's causing stress in your life. When I get burned out, my stress level skyrockets. This usually causes me to have crippling anxiety, which then prevents me from getting anything done. I often have to take time to stop, remind myself to breathe, and just relax. Talking with someone about how you're feeling can also help you out, more than you probably realize. Your mental health should be taken seriously. Nothing can cripple your day or stunt your motivation more than feeling depressed, anxious, or sad. We all have a lot to deal with in our daily lives, be it the struggles of work, keeping food on your table, or even paying the bills. Your mental health is one area that you shouldn't have to worry about. So whether life currently has you down, you're feeling unfulfilled, we're all experiencing our own form of strain in our mental health. And for that, BetterHelp is here for us. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you could be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Necronomipod listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/necro. Again, that's betterhelp, HELP.com/necro. That's BETTERHELP.com/necro. And thanks to BetterHelp for sponsoring today's podcast.
All of a sudden, the shorter grays started to herd all of these people, including Terry and Toby, down a hallway. Terry specifically used the word herd. He felt that they were being treated as cattle.
So they kind of still frozen, but their legs work? Like they can just shuffle, I wonder?
I'm not sure.
They just kind of move without moving.
Yeah, they were still stuck.
Yeah. They had a conveyor belt. They didn't really walk. It's kind of creepy.
That sounds like
kind of creepy, yeah.
In the area that they were taken to, Terry said on the wall to his left were rows of aquarium tanks. Inside, he said that there was this pink liquid and things inside.
So that makes sense. You're on a conveyor belt at the aquarium, right? We've all been there. It takes you under like the sharks and stuff.
Yeah.
So they learned something from us.
We don't get yelled at like Ian for putting his hands in the tank, though.
Well, we follow rules. We're not fucking thugs like Ian.
So inside these tanks, there were fetuses to fully developed babies, but they weren't human. Terry said that he felt like they were a hybrid of a human and the gray beings. He said that he didn't want to look at them, but he couldn't take his eyes off them either. Then one of them twitched in the tank and he started screaming. Terry said he also heard another man screaming who he thought was Toby, and from down the hall he could hear another woman screaming like off in the distance. So that's fucking scary.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And going back, speaking about, we joked about aquariums and Ian being a troublemaker when he goes to public places.
Yeah.
I think a few weeks ago, Ian's like, yeah, What are you going to do about it? I make trouble. That's what I do. A few weeks ago, I think was it on the regular show or Patreon? We talked about the zoo. Dave, you had a lovely afternoon at the zoo recently.
I did. Yeah.
We
97 degrees.
Well, that doesn't sound lovely at all. We talked about the baby gorilla and how fucking awesome that was.
Baby gorilla was delightful.
Declan said we had numerous people reach out and say the Patreon content they want is video of us taking Ian to the zoo because they know he's a mark for it and seeing his reaction when he sees the baby gorilla for the first time. Because you, pal, have not experienced that.
I need to before it gets big.
You need to go.
Ian goes to the zoo.
Ian does a zoo. Ian does a zoo. And it's just like us taking him like he's our kid. We're like holding his hand.
Oh, you want a snow cone?
He's like, yeah, that'd be great. It's a video of him eating a snow cone, looking at the baby gorilla.
I bought you a zoo key so you can listen to all the audio stories at the exhibits.
Give me those like gimmick earbuds.
And if he promises not to get yelled at by any of the zookeepers, we'll buy him a stuffed animal on the way out.
This all sounds pretty good.
Oh, this sounds like a delightful afternoon. I'm going to do a fucking weed and you guys are going to take me to the zoo.
The other thing that Terry noted in this area was that there were symbols carved into the metal, like around the aquarium tanks and stuff. We'll end up posting this on social media, but he did his best to draw what he remembered, and I sent you guys the pics just a bit ago. I think it'll probably be
the one we posted as like the teaser photo.
Yeah.
It's weird. I thought it was a 3-year-old practicing their shapes.
I can't talk because as an artist, I aspire to be as good as he is. If you've seen my drawings, you would understand.
Yeah.
That's what he saw.
As Shania Twain would say, that don't impress me much.
Wow, look at you, Mr. Sass.
The next thing Terry knew, he was on his back, laying on an operating table. Terry said that he was screaming, and he knew he was screaming because he could see his chest moving up and down with him when he was screaming, but he couldn't hear anything. Like sound was completely sucked out of the room. Then a being walked up to his table that Terry was only able to describe as a 6-foot-tall praying mantis.
That's a pretty nightmarish scenario, right?
Yeah.
That might be the scariest part of this.
And before, like, you think of that in your head, you're like, that sounds fucking crazy. Like, the grays are a lot more believable than a 6-foot-tall praying mantis.
Yeah.
But there's something to the praying mantis thing that I don't know if it's, like, ingrained in our brains somewhere. I was reading that, like, maybe some kind of, like primitive thing. But people have seen mantis beings when they do DMT.
Really?
I typed in because I just wanted to like see what I could find out there about mantis beings, and I saw a post on Reddit. It was a DMT subreddit, and someone commented, they're like, I had this experience where this praying mantis, I encountered it, like a closed eye hallucination, but saying that they encountered it, and they said they felt that it was feeding off of them, like it was feeding off of their feelings. And the whole thread blew up with comments of people like, I've done DMT too, and I thought I was crazy. Like I've never thought of a praying mantis or anything, but I came across the same type of thing. Hundreds of comments of people.
This is why I can't ever do DMT or anything like that, because I cannot handle something like that.
Yeah, like how?
No, absolutely not.
How do you react when that happens?
I cry and I just kill myself.
That sounds like me if I camp.
The person, they went in depth with their trip, describing it, and they said that they didn't feel scared. They felt calmed by this being, but they said that at the same time they felt it was feeding off of their energy.
That's just a bridge too far for me.
And there's the argument with DMT, right? That it does open your brain up to that next dimension.
Yeah. I can't. I'm too scared of that.
So Lovelace was a drug addict. Is that what we're hypothesizing here?
I mean,
DMT is natural. I mean, our bodies produce it in very small amounts.
Yeah, no, I'm just being silly, but
yeah.
I believe it was forced on him. So no, I don't think you could consider him a drug addict.
So besides just giving this like general description of a praying mantis, Terry said that it had 4 fingers. It didn't have like that claw hand thing. And he said its head was like the eyes of it were about the size of a watermelon. And it was like this brownish green, like holographic kind of
Have you ever read or seen Starship Troopers?
I have not.
That's what that reminds me of, Starship Troopers.
Okay.
Terrifying.
That was the third Star Trek?
Starship Troopers, Mike. No.
Star Trek.
Sci-fi novel and
Revenge of the Starship
movie.
Troopers.
No, you're just out of your element.
Stormtroopers.
No.
Attacked them.
No.
Stormtroopers attacked. They were the Quidditch team against Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stones. That was their gimmick, right? Like that was their
You're not
name.
even close. You're getting cold.
Whatever. I'm not going to do a movie.
Terry said that he was just nonstop screaming, and this mantis being seemed to just be annoyed with him. Like Terry was fucking up him doing his job. Terry said that the mantis being telepathically said something to him along the lines of, quote, "Why are you screaming? You know we don't hurt you. You know we take you back."
Implication being this is not Terry's first time.
Yeah, this is the first hint of that.
Yeah. I think we'll see more of this later, but yeah.
As this story spirals way out of control.
After this, the mantis being hit Terry on the top of his head with one of its fingers, and the next thing that Terry remembers is him and Toby being on the ground in between their car and the tent they were taken from. So this is pretty much an unsaid thing between Terry and Toby. Like they were never going to talk about this, not with each other or anybody else. It was a terrifying thing, and they wanted to forget that it ever happened.
How could you possibly not discuss this?
How is that not the first thing? Like you wake up and you're like, what the fuck was that?
You just look, they're like implying they looked at each other and just kind of said, no, we're not going to discuss this.
We said earlier he had like the sunburns and stuff. Like they both had sunburns all over them. That they were questioned when they got back to their base. And that's where we're going to talk about the end, where he goes off the rails a bit, because he goes into this whole thing where they were given sodium pentothal, truth serum, stuff like that.
So here's my question on this. Does the sunburn aspect of this imply that they never actually physically left their spot by the cars and this was all sort of an interdimensional kind of occurrence versus a physical abduction?
I think the way that Terry's implying it is that inside the craft was so bright white that it burnt their skin.
Okay, so that's different. Okay.
Yeah, because he said he talks a lot about it, how it hurt his eyes really bad, like to try
They
and
were
look.
swollen shut.
Yeah.
Okay. Is he losing you at this point, Mike?
It's that we've turned.
Okay.
We've hit the apex. We're coming around.
All right, fair enough.
And this is an interesting outline for me because I did this, like, I learned with the story as I wrote this outline, because this is newer. His book came out in 2018. So
See, isn't this fun? Like I learned as we're going every fucking week.
I did as I was writing
It's
this.
like an adventure.
It's very new then.
And I get gradually let down as the story goes on.
As the notes slowly get more and more depressing.
All right, let's not blow up the story just yet. Calm down, fellas.
Yeah, see you next week. We said our piece.
Fast forward to October 22nd, 2013. Terry's now retired, living in Dallas, Texas. He would go out jogging daily, and he started to notice a spot above his right knee that would go numb while he was jogging. Then one day he fell because of it and ended up in the Dallas, Texas Veterans Administration Medical Center radiology department getting x-rays done.
I have a spot above my right knee that goes numb when I go jogging.
Yeah.
It's called my entire body. It's fucking terrible.
After getting x-rays done on his right knee, the doctor asked Terry if he had ever had a shrapnel wound or something along those lines. Terry said no, nothing like that had ever happened. And the doctor goes, well, there's something metal in there. Where Terry was feeling numb, the x-ray picked up a microchip-looking piece of metal with two small wires running upwards. Also right under Terry's knee, on the backside of his leg, was this really weird flower-shaped object that was diagnosed as a Baker's cyst. However, multiple doctors have looked at it and they've commented that they have never seen one that's so uniform looking. And I'll send you guys pics of that too, leading up to this. It does look like a flower. It's kind of weird.
Does the book provide these x-rays as any sort of corroborating evidence?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're there.
Yeah, you can see I'll send them all to you guys.
Okay.
And stuff. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, they're all there. A couple days after finding this weird piece of metal in his leg, Terry went to sleep like normal in his bed, but randomly woke up at 3 a.m., not in his bed, but sitting in his living room. Sitting across from him was what he said looked to be a petite Asian woman, but what he noticed right away was that her hair was all messed up to the side, like it was clearly a wig that she was wearing. Then telepathically, Terry heard her ask him, quote, "You don't like my wig? It's the same."
All right, second implication that this has happened before.
Terry thought to himself, the same as what? And she telepathically said, quote, "The same as the last time we met one another."
Uh-oh. The plot thickens. Just like Mike's penis when he sees Chase Elliott.
Well, if he's running well. Not if it's a bad day, pal. Give me a top 5 car, I'll be chubbed all afternoon. Sunday fun day, I call it.
This woman went on to tell Terry that she was a hybrid of a gray and a human, and that the reason she was there was because of the implant in his knee. She told him that they have put implants in thousands of people over many generations, but she wouldn't tell Terry why. All she would say was that, quote, "They served many purposes."
So maybe the hybrids are the intermediaries between the grays and the humans.
Maybe.
A bridge to peaceful relations between the two races, if you will.
I've heard the theory that they it helps them be able to stay here. Something about that technology, that mix of a psychic and physical technology, the hybrid, having part of us in them allows them to stay here. Like they can physically stay here for extended periods of time or forever.
That's interesting. Kind of anchors them
to
this world.
I've heard it.
I've heard a lot of things. I've heard Mike bang tons of hoes in college. I'm not sure I believe it. But.
I got proof. I got photos of everything, pal. You've never asked. You want to see the book of College Mike? I don't think you can handle it, pal.
I heard he fucked so many hoses in the Hall of Fame. It's like Kid Rock.
Wow. I declined invitation to that Hall of Fame. I built my own. And only the best bangs got into my Hall of Fame. I go back to their house now, fucking 15 years later. Yeah, husband and kids. And I'm like, "Hi, this is, you remember me, Mike Now from college. I just wanted to give you this. You have officially been nominated for the Mike Bang Hall of Fame. Your whole family's invited. It'll be a catered affair. Come on, give a speech. I'm sure going to give a speech. So, welcome back.
This is like a cuck seating section for all the husbands.
Oh, yeah. They don't get to sit with the family. all the Hall of Fame inductees are on stage on the dais with me.
Because you're the real dad of all those kids, right?
Then there's the cucks. And then, there's a kids player. I don't want the little fucking shits ruining the ceremony. There's like a play area in the back, like a bounce house and stuff. Just get the hell out of here. There's a machine that shoots out chicken nuggets to them every 10 minutes. And then like the cucks, they get like, I don't know, cheap like skirt steak or something like that. Skirt steak. We're in the good shit on the stage. Yeah. I do. I honor 3 a year.
Really?
New thing I'm doing. Yeah. Started 2 years ago.
How come Ian and I have never been invited to this ceremony?
You guys want to be the MCs next year? You can MC it. Sure. All right. We're having it in Raleigh after my cuck bull convention that I've been talking about. I'm hosting.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
Can we share some of these hoes, or you keep them all to yourself?
Well, I don't. At this point, I'm not.
You're not indulging.
It's just a Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, unless
I thought you were recucking.
Unless the beta husbands. No, at the time they weren't cucks.
Right. Sure.
Now, if the husbands they can sign off. I'm not trying to end any relationships here.
Sure.
But if they are interested, there will be a tour de cuck. I go around the rooms. Did you ever see the NFL how like the commissioner or whoever the guy is, the Hall of Fame president would come to your room and he knocks on your door if you're going to get inducted.
Oh, okay.
Have you guys seen that before? Like, I think it's Super Bowl weekend and like anybody who's eligible comes, and then the president of the Hall of Fame, like if he knocks on your door,
okay.
Like it's become like their trademark thing now.
Sure.
So that's what I do. If the husband signs, I come and you hear that. And then they're like, "Oh my God, he's here! He's gonna bang me out in front of you!" And that's what we do. Yeah. I forget the president name. The Hall of Fame here is in Canton, actually, the NFL one. The Mike Namapod College Hookup Hall of Fame is here in Medina. There's no building, but it's in my mind.
It's a virtual space.
Yeah, like the WWE Hall of Fame. It doesn't actually exist, but they have a big fucking ceremony every year. And if you guys show up, you don't have to have the skirt steak. I'll get you guys something.
Oh, good. Appreciate that.
You get the gold crusted ribeye
Thank you.
tomahawk like I get. Well, how did we get there? Oh, because you compared me to Kid Rock with a banging Hall of Fame.
That's right. Fuck so many hoes, you're in the Hall of Fame.
When you're at my level, you just start your own Hall of Fame, pal.
And people accept it.
So as Terry was sitting there, scared and trying to figure out what was going on, he had a realization that he knew who this woman was. Terry said that when he was around 6 or 7 years old, he started having dreams where this woman would ask him if he wanted to come play. And there were all these, what Terry called, quote, little circus monkeys with her. Then it was like the floodgates opened. Terry remembered that in those dreams, the rooms he was in were brightly lit, just like in the UFO, the same symbols carved into things, all of it. Terry remembered this woman playing games with him and the, quote, little circus monkeys, like matching shapes and stuff. Terry also said that he didn't feel like he remembered this stuff on his own. He felt like at that moment, that woman made him remember it as they were sitting there.
Were the little circus monkeys supposed to be just the little grays and threes?
Yeah.
All right.
That's what he's implying.
Yeah.
But in his 6-year-old mind, that's what he perceived them
that
as.
makes sense. Okay.
This woman warned Terry about telling people about his encounters or writing a book. She told him that he also had an implant in his left knee, and then if he told anyone about it, that they would come and take them out. And it would be very painful, and he would be made to remember that. The second threat, she told him, quote, your government will kill you. Obviously, that didn't happen, and Terry points out that there's hundreds of UFO books out there, so he said that he doesn't get that threat.
Yeah, he's like, why me?
Yeah,
all these goddamn books, you're gonna come after me? Maybe because his is the only true one.
Ah, maybe so. The others are a disinformation campaign from Richard Doty.
I was gonna say, who's our guy? Doty. Dick Doty.
About 3 weeks later, Terry woke up at 7 a.m. with a ton of pain in his legs. So he went to a chiropractor, which I don't fully understand why. And
they gotta pop you back in place, right? Like,
because they're not real doctors, and
well, yeah,
you're not aligned. You're not aligned. They put you in that machine where they fucking pull your neck.
I'm glad you say that, because I've gotten in like heated arguments with people before about saying that a chiropractor is not a real doctor.
No, you just go
absolutely
to
not.
Yeah.
Like chiropractic school or chiropractory school, or like you're not a doctor.
Yeah, I've gotten into an argument with someone that swears by the chiropractor thing and that they are real doctors and everything else. I'm like, no, you're wrong.
It's like the ITT Technical Institute of medical school.
Wouldn't that just be calling like a masseuse a doctor? Like it's not.
Pretty
like
much.
They're just learning about the body.
Yeah, it's not a
and
medical
like how to
degree.
you're not getting a medical
No.
degree. You're learning a special skill set.
They might paralyze you. I don't recommend it.
I have heard stories. I've heard Paul Stanley of KISS retweeted a story a few years ago of someone died after getting an adjustment, like the way that, like it wasn't right away, but like the way they got adjusted, and a few days later they died because something snapped or like a blood vessel broke or something. I don't remember the exact story. I'm butchering it, but because of a chiropractic visit.
There was also that Playboy model went to a chiropractor and it fucked up her neck and stuff real bad.
I don't know.
I can't remember who that was, but like she got really fucked up from it.
Fine. I don't recommend that. Just my opinion.
The videos of people getting adjusted looks fantastic. It looks like it feels amazing. But also massages feel amazing.
Getting a massage is great too. Just stick with that.
Well, massages don't align your body though. You gotta get your spine adjusted, Dave. Maybe that's why you got COVID. You're just all out of whack over there.
My masseuse is fantastic and she aligns me quite well.
She aligns me quite well too. Straight up and down.
So I don't know why Terry went to this chiropractor, but the chiropractor told Terry that there really wasn't anything that he could do for him.
Yeah, because he's not a doctor.
It's like, I don't know. Should probably go see a doctor, pal.
Like you have pain in your legs. Like the chiropractor's only dealing with your back.
That's like using Necronomicon as like science.
Yeah.
Like, oh, would you do your research, Necronomicon? You mean those 3 drunk assholes? Yup. What experience do they have? I don't know. They've been doing it for 3.5 years.
Yeah, Ian diagnosed me, so I know exactly what's wrong with me.
The chiropractor isn't named in this book because he didn't want to have his name out there. But
that's weird.
The chiropractor and Terry got to talking, and the chiropractor said that he would pay for the new x-rays to see if the metal objects were taken from his legs. The story gets so weird in this paragraph.
And we're off the rails.
Yeah, because now we got just a chiropractor randomly offering to pay him to go get new x-rays.
He's clearly not a doctor because doctors don't offer to pay for shit.
$8 aspirins, right? They're not covering any charges.
Terry said that he went to a freestanding x-ray place, got the x-rays, and sure enough, they were gone.
Bam. Is that new x-ray in the book as well?
It is.
Wow. Well, that concludes it.
Based on my belief of Betty and Barney Hill, Travis Walton, Betty and Dreesen, and some other alien abduction stories, there's no reason why I shouldn't believe this one. We just ripped on the chiropractor thing. It's pretty dumb and it doesn't make sense, but who knows? The problem with this is that pretty quick after this first book came out, Terry wrote another book called Incident at Devil's Den, The Reckoning. And in that book, Terry goes way off the rails. That one just came out like last year.
It was 2020.
Oh, was it 2020?
Yeah, I looked it up.
Oh, okay.
So the first book did well, I'm going to assume, if it would enable a second follow-up book to be written, at least reasonably well.
A lot of podcasts he's been on.
Okay.
A lot of
self-promotion.
Promote the book. And people who love this genre and UFOs and all that would very much be into this because, like we said at the beginning, he's a credible source.
And that's fine. I don't see any problem with that.
No, you're selling a book, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Anybody who writes a book, you see them do all the press stuff they could do.
Right.
Yep.
I don't know how well it did exactly, but I mean, he was on Coast to Coast, so I'm sure there was a lot of people.
It's time to cash in. It's time to cash in.
In the second book, he claims to be told things by that hybrid woman that was in his living room that night. Like, for example, that there are grays and humans coexisting on the dark side of the moon, and that we've been doing this for the past 2 generations. That there are some people born on the moon and that they've never been to Earth. This woman told Terry that there's a propulsion system that can allow for travel from the moon to Mars in 17 hours. She said
that would be pretty fucking wild.
She said that there is a massive rush to build a civilization on Mars because Earth is pretty much fucked.
That is also true.
The Earth can only hold 8 billion people, and we're at 7.5 billion, which I don't even know if that's accurate or not, but that's just what is in the book.
7.79. Oh,
today?
2002. 2020. I looked up when the book came out, 2020, and I got 7.79. But I think today it was down to
7.753. No, I saw that from 2020 as well. But
okay.
That's a variable kind of.
So we're getting close.
I'm just saying what he put in the book is pretty close to accurate.
But we're getting pretty close to where we can't hold any more people.
Well, I think we've long passed how many people we can hold.
I mean, the Earth is screwed. I mean, if you look at what's going on in Europe, I mean, the Earth is boiling and we're not doing anything about it.
It's a hot tub, pal.
It's 100.
Get in and enjoy it, pal. Enjoy the ride.
It's 104 degrees in the UK today, and no one has air conditioning because it's never that warm over there. It's just we're boiling the planet.
No, the air conditioners. They spend all their money on dental hygiene.
So we are screwed for sure.
Terry also makes claims about the moon being hollow, the one world government, Alex Jones type conspiracies, and that reptilians live in the deserts here in the U.S. and they're responsible for cattle mutilations.
So he went all in.
Yes, Terry took a turn.
Yeah, we did a Hollow Moon show, right, on Patreon?
We did.
Patreon.com/Necronomipod.
I forgot all about that.
It was one of the most ridiculous shows we've ever done.
We've done Hollow Moon and Flat Earth. Flat Earth was not Patreon, but
yeah.
Hollow Moon is just so stupid.
A lot of people are real upset with NASA and the moon.
There's not even a lot. Like, I thought there was going to be so much more to that story of like their theories.
Yeah,
it's not.
No, not much there.
Like maybe like 2 paragraphs. You could probably cover it all. Of course, with our tomfoolery, we made it up like probably a 90-minute episode, but
it was fun.
Yeah, there's like not anything to it. At least the flat earthers go out of the way to kayfabe some theories, even, no matter how ridiculous they are.
They're like the moon.
They try.
The moon's hollow. Well, here's these calculations. No, it's not. All right, we'll talk to you later.
Guess this is where we're at an impasse. See you next week.
Here's some science calculations to prove that in a second and a half.
We reject that.
I think that Terry's initial encounter is believable. He's a credible guy with like what he's done in life. And based on the other stuff I believe, I think that, you know, it's believable. Betty Andreessen, we talked about this in our episode on her. I believe her initial story, but then she got married to this guy that was on Coast to Coast all the time, like this real new agey guy with crystals and crystal skulls and everything. And then Betty Andreessen just went off the rails completely with this new age type shit, and like her story turned into this whole saga of stuff. I don't know what changed about Terry's tone. Like the whole thing changed from the first book to the second book.
He's like, I love this stuff. I gotta turn it up a notch, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this really happened to him, and then he got on Coast to Coast and was like, all right, I'm going to capitalize on this, and we're going all in.
If this really happened to you and you were terrified of this, which any normal, rational human being would be terrified probably by this.
Sure.
And you write your book and you tell your story and you claim that you waited because nobody would take you seriously.
Which is valid. I accept that premise 100%.
But then you go and you write these ridiculous follow-ups, which is going to hurt your credibility.
Here's how I look at that. I write this book. All these people are interested. I'm on Coast to Coast, blah, blah, blah. I do these shows. Like, this is really awesome. I love all this attention. I don't have anything else going on with my life. This is real. I didn't make any of this up, but I love talking about it. I love Coast to Coast. I love the attention. Then it kind of levels off. No one's calling me anymore. It's like, God, what am I going to do? I really love being in the limelight. I got to write another book, but I can't write the same book because there's not going to be much interest. I know I got to step it up a little bit and make more outrageous claims that'll get me back on. Is that what happened here?
I think
it's plausible. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, that's my opinion with Betty Andreessen. Mm-hmm. That's what I think happened with her. I believe her initial story, and I think she just, was influenced to go off the rails. Hers by the guy that she married, but then, this one, like you said, he could have just like, I'm going to capitalize on this.
Look, the limelight's addicting, right? Once you get into it.
Yeah. He was on Coast to Coast a bunch. He was on, as soon as the new book came out, George Norrie had him on.
Yeah. You're like, I'm retired. What else am I going to do? Am I going to sit in my house and do nothing? Or I really like this attention. I could be on the radio. I could talk about my experiences. I want to write another book. I better amp this up and come up with some more creative stuff that happened to me. Not necessarily true. Makes sense.
Did Travis Walton, what happened with him? I don't remember.
He just stuck to the story.
But did he do interviews and stuff with it after the fact?
He would appear at the UFO convention things, but you're not making a ton of money there or doing anything.
Right.
I know he got some money from the movie. I think they all did to a degree.
I just feel like if it happens once to you, you can ride that out the rest of your life. You have that. I'm not saying you're making money, but you have that story. And in this community, people are going to hold on to that when they really believe
you. Can go to conventions and kind of ride that
what Travis
circuit
Walton
out.
Did. You're always going to get that call because you're a credible source.
Maybe this guy's just a one-upper.
But that's what I mean. And I think that takes away the credibility of the whole story when you start getting into that. Because now what are you here for? You're here for the publicity, the fame, and the money? Or did this actually happen? And if this actually did happen to you, if that actually happened to me, I would probably be so terrified and freaked out. I wouldn't want to tempt fate and write a second book and
the alien hybrid comes back to you're fucking lying, Terry. We're gonna put nails in your kneecaps.
Maybe my second book would be here's how my journey after that, how I got back to normalcy in my life. That would be my follow-up book. Nobody would fucking read it, but that would be the story I would tell. Here's how I recovered from my abduction.
I'm just trying to give myself a path where I can believe the initial story and account for
because the first
going
half of
off the rails follow up.
The first half of his story is very believable, and when I was reading these notes, obviously the first time I've ever heard of this, halfway through I was like, oh, this is the most maybe legitimate one I've ever read.
Yeah.
And then it just changes.
Yeah.
And I'm to the point, obviously, I do not believe this story.
Well, and that's why I started writing the outline, learned with writing, And so when I hit the
you
point,
can kind of tell when you're reading the notes,
yeah.
like you feel Ian's emotions going through it.
When I found out about the new book and started looking into that one, I'm like, well, here we are. Yeah. We're talking about the reptilians.
You worked yourself into a sheet on that one.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if I'm was being the gullible UFO person, which I am a lot of the times.
But I'm not, and I believe the first half too. I think Dave did too, is what we're saying. It's very believable.
I can also see a path where he was a very serious guy. He was a military guy, went to law school. He's an assistant DA in Vermont, and he retires. He's like, he picks up a UFO book or whatever. Maybe he's reading Whitley Strieber's book one day. He's like, I could write a book like that. Yeah. And just,
and does.
Kind of does and makes up the story because who gives a fuck? I'm retired. Maybe I like to fuck with people. I like to fuck with people, so I can put myself in his shoes. Maybe I just want to spin this tale of 40 years ago. I was scared to tell this tale, but
and see, this
is what happened to me, and that's just complete trolling people. I like that even better than.
But I don't even necessarily know if it's. I mean, it is trolling, I guess, but he's doing something fun. He's making a payday. He's got us fucking talking about it.
And what
Good for him.
What do you have to lose at that point?
Yeah,
nothing. I
you have nothing
you have
to
an esteemed
lose.
Career. You're retired. What are they going to do? They're going to say, "Oh, I don't believe this."
Or does he have a touch of dementia? Is he mid 60s at this
seems
point?
good.
I don't know. There's just could be lots of explanations, but it seems to me like as someone who likes to fuck with people. It could be a fun retirement hobby to write a book about how you were abducted by aliens 40 years ago.
Kayfabe, in case you want to write a book one day. Now you just gave it
Everyone
away.
knows I'm a big phony phone call fan. It's very fun to fuck with people.
Phony phone call fan.
A long track record of phony phone calls, and fucking with people is always fun. And I think this is this guy fucking with people.
Yeah, I'm on that team too.
I really was into it. But then that second book just kind of ruined it for me. So yeah, I think that there's things here that he pulled from. I'm not even going to say that because I believe in alien abduction. So
yeah,
I can't say that his first part doesn't seem believable. It's just for me, the second book makes him lose all credibility.
Yeah, maybe if the second book wasn't around, I'd have been like, yeah, I have no reason to doubt this guy. But there's no proof. One way or the other. There's no proof to discount it. But
chiropractor. Who the fuck does that?
That's where even the first story goes off the rails with that chiropractor thing.
Yeah.
Why, if your legs hurt, why are you going to a chiropractor? Second, the chiropractor says, I can't help you, but you get to talking, and that chiropractor just decides on the spot, I'll pay for your x-rays.
There's some holes here.
Why does that happen?
If I wrote this book, there wouldn't be that many holes. I'm sure. Just like Mike Namapada would plug all the holes.
Well, you have to, right? It almost is like he wrote the book and then didn't proofread it. Let me make sure that this all adds up.
Yeah.
You probably would have fixed
There's no loose ends here that maybe people could question the logic of. Sure.
Yeah.
That part threw me off.
All right, I'm done burying this guy.
I'm not trying
he's
to.
Still alive. I'm sure he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Good for him. He's making money too.
I'd love to talk to the guy.
We reached out.
Yeah, Ian reached out to him.
Ian did or did Declan? You should have, because Declan can't fucking write for shit. I've read some of his stuff.
I reached out to him.
Good for you. That's a smart move, pal.
I'm not 100% discounting this story, but I'm leaning against this as a fun retirement project that maybe,
I lean towards it's maybe like a 60-40 that the initial story is true.
Okay.
And then
that's fair.
it went off the rails.
Yeah,
Either
fair.
he was like, I'm going to capitalize on this and make some money.
Sure.
And like keep the train rolling, like if he did fake the original one, or maybe he just wants to stay in the limelight a bit.
Look, and don't get me wrong, if he just completely made up this whole thing, I applaud.
No, we don't clap.
I applaud you, sir.
Fucking white guy just clapping. He's not listening, Dave. He's not here. Why are you clapping?
Terry Lovelace, I applaud you just for the your troll level.
Yeah,
I like
good
it.
for him. Good
like
for him. I have no qualms with that. I also don't think you have, in my mind, I look at every abduction UFO story we'd cover separately. I don't even think about the other ones. I just look at each story. So like you said, you believe the Betty Andreessen, you believe Betty Hill, Fire in the Sky, all that stuff. So you should believe this. I don't necessarily believe in that. I think every story is different. Just listen to it. And if it makes sense to me, I guess if there's not the profiting off of it makes a big difference in my mind. Like, when he wrote his second book and stuff like that. Right. So like, I don't think you need to fault yourself for believing other ones and then not believing this one. Because I think every story you need to look at individually and not let other things, kind of dilute the story or how you think of them. That's if that makes sense.
That's fair. Sure.
When I listened to the newest time that he was on Coast to Coast, he started to sound like Stan Romanek to me.
Okay.
And that's as soon as that happened, that was the one that had the alien look in the window.
Oh,
the PETA.
Yeah,
He's a kitty PETA.
Yeah.
Close your blinds. Close your blinds.
Well, first of all, yes. Second of all, that was 100% just, what we were arguing over whether it was a mask or like someone holding something up. Right. Either way, it was fake as fuck.
Or a puppet. It was a puppet or a mask.
Either way, close your blinds.
Yeah. That wouldn't happen.
The way he was talking just started to remind me of Stan Romanek stuff, and that's when I started to get kind of bummed out. I'm like, oh,
because you're comparing him to a dipshit.
Yeah,
and that's what I mean.
Like now we're going down this road a bit.
But then you were letting that story influence the thoughts on this one, and he's not probably a Stan Romanek who was a complete phony.
No, it's just that I could tell like the stories weren't believable anymore, kind of deal.
Yeah. With the alien ones, I look at each one separate. Like, I don't let anything, in my mind, I don't let anything from the past dictate, like, okay, how do I look at this story? Yeah. Well, I thought this about this one. Each one's just its own separate, because we don't fucking know what's going on and what aliens are doing and what other life forms. I 100% believe there's aliens out there. I 100% believe people have been abducted and people have seen UFOs. Have we covered any of those stories? Maybe, maybe not. But we certainly don't understand them.
Maybe those are the cover stories. So we don't really know.
These are the tabloids that we get to like throw us off. Dick Doty's doing his job.
Dick Doty. The biggest question out of the night is, should we do a DMT show?
I don't know if I could handle that, man.
Like, you want to do DMT and then do a show? Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to do an H-bomb. I want some halcyon in my drink.
DMT only lasts like 10 minutes, right? It's real quick.
I'm not sure.
From my understanding.
From my understanding, H-bombs are very long.
What is an H? Wait, what are you talking about?
H-bombs. We talk about this in like the Scott Hall episode when the wrestlers would H-bomb each other. You throw a halcyon in someone's drink. Like, this was what wrestlers would prank each other. You fucking drug them till they're unconscious.
It's not really a good prank.
No, I don't understand. Why would you do that to someone?
We covered a lot of things tonight, fellas. Glad to be back from COVID and enjoying your company again.
Yeah,
clearly.
Glad I did not die from the COVID.
Glad
you are at the age risk, Dave. You are high risk, age-wise.
I considered that.
I wasn't going to bring it up, but I decided to.
Appreciate that as always, Mike.
I'm glad you're here. What the fuck will we also do? What, Beav Austin going to fill in for you if you were out and down for the count?
He might.
What are Ian and I supposed to do at that point? Say we'd have been fucking dropped with stunners in the first 2 minutes, and then what? Just dead air. Or Beavis just running his mouth on ranting on things. Okay, good show.
I'm thumbs down in this guy. I don't believe this story. It's my final answer.
Thumbs down in the story, yes.
I want to believe.
I know you do. I can tell you. Your trepidation and wanting to thumbs down him because I see you want to believe.
In all fairness, Ian wants to believe every UFO story. An abduction.
The UFO world is very gullible, and I will admit that I'm very gullible too. Sometimes I'll see something online.
Oh, I've been to wrestling shows with you. You're very gullible.
Yeah, so I can fall for stuff, and I feel like I did fall for Terry Lovelace's story in the beginning, but. Yeah.
I remember a couple weeks ago, I said, "Hey, Ian, I used to work in a concrete factory." And you're like, "Really?" I go, "Yeah, I quit. That job got harder and harder."
What was that on?
I don't know.
One of our shows.
I love when I look in his eyes and I reel him in. He's like, "Really?"
We really do need to get a video of Ian at the zoo eating a snow cone, just looking at the baby gorilla, just stand there happy as a clam. You can't not be happy watching a baby gorilla crawl all over the place. It's so fucking adorable.
I really need to see it before it gets too big.
You do need to go. Just don't go on Monday.
No.
It's the worst.
Absolutely
Is it the free day?
Yes.
Fuck that.
It's so fucking packed.
There are way too many people there.
All right, we got 102 new patrons because Dave took a vacation. So here we go. Thank you very much to new patrons. Bill Clinton's Dick, Death Fix, Bibble, Alana Derby, Austin Kersner, Jax, Molly, Alexander St. Germain, Dom O'Donnell, Tyler Fitzgerald, Jessica, Micro Penis.
Oh, Jared finally joined. Patreon just for Jared. Thanks for joining, Jared. I joke. It's not Jared.
Oh, he'd have to improve to be Micro. Maisie Fugate, William Cooper, Quint Stovall, Adrian. It's got an exclamation point. So, come commander of the Third Reich.
Oh my God!
This is getting
this come commander.
This is insane. You guys need to stop or just go to fucking war with each other. John McDaniel. Tuck Zaddy is a baddie. Ariana. Saskia Weigel. Liz. Brett Johnston. Josh Collins. Nicole Taylor. Cynic 101. Tay. Paige Anthony. Chloe Haynes. Hannah Liff. Kermith Kent. Brandon Barbie. Mason. Haley Clark. Amanda. Lexi Vandalite. Elizabeth Schupanitz, S. Paul Zisk, Leah McDonald White, Top Kick 454, Peter Abel, Nathan H., Dallas Carr, Victoria Clark, Kate Pletka, Danny Hanrahan, Kem, Haley Brown, Jack Hart, Spedgod, Roberto Trejo, Fawn Dole My Sack. Dave.
That was me.
Oh, Miss Dole My Sack. Steve Campbell, Tony Hawk's brother Mike, Lady Buzzard.
Like Mike Hawk.
Mike Hawk. Yeah. Crystal Rosenbaum, Jose Ailman, Shane Moe, Jennifer Lawrence. Is that Jennifer Lawrence? The Jennifer Lawrence? Welcome to the show. Ash, Forrest Gump #1, Queen Laquifa, Brandon Cardona, Mike Hunt, The Morning After. It's probably beat up. The January Man, Christopher Beard, Chef Rose Bloodheart, Angel Yanez, Cats and Tats 666. Don't love that. The cats part, at least. Alex Rivers, Emily Eder, Rye Ferguson, Diego Del Gadillo, Molly Pop 297, Poop Shoot 25, Kira Schitzenhofer, Ashton, Michael Wagner, Royal Canadian Cum Commander of the Menstruation Militia, Tessa, Agugate Estrada, Danelle Dutton, T. Matson, Little Black Scrubs 22, Paige Paxton, Justin, Banana Cookie, Karen Lowe, Veronica, Mighty Penis, not to be confused with Micro Penis. I think they're brothers. Michael Anderson, Sarah Levering, Austin Nelson, Stacy Rousseau, Andrea Barrett, Scrubs is number 1, Ashley, Lindsay Irich, apologies, Katie Durrell, Dan, I'm Talking Fucking Lee, Amy Gaines. Thank you all very much. We're at patreon.com/necronomapod.
I see one in the list I think you may have missed, 36499. It's like,
oh, yeah, that was
formatting way over to the right. I'm not exactly
I didn't know
sure
that
what
was a
happened
name.
there.
I didn't know that was a name. I thought it was just a...
I reviewed the list again real quick, and someone's name is 36499.
All right. Thank you, 36499. Not to be confused with their cousin, 36 Mafia.
36 Mafia is good stuff.
Ian, what do you got?
For iTunes, I have one for Mindy Lynn, 121, Logan Gillum, Rich, 0129, Cops, Awesome McGingerstein.
Cops?
Yeah.
Like as in the police reviewed us as well? They like us. They love us because we're honest about them. We don't beat around the bush. You know, we don't toot their horns. We tell it like it is. We appreciate you too, police. Have a donut on us.
Dead Mouse 1324. Juicy Pussy is back.
Juicy Pussy.
Hasn't Juicy Pussy received a shout out like 6 months in a row now, or 6 weeks? I'm sorry.
Well, it's a Juicy Pussy. It needs lots of shout outs.
Mike Randazzo, SABCB, Average Wargamer, Brit 1388, Misty Sturge, Necronama Cuntshay.
Hey. I believe one of the first inductees of the Namapod Hall of Fame, the Mike Namapod Hall of Fame. I remember her. I remember her. Her husband's going to be having some flank steak.
Skirt steak.
Skirt steak, that's what I said. Thank you, Dave. You're catering.
Anytime.
You're cooking that skirt steak. I hope you overcook the shit out of that skirt steak.
There's your over well done skirt steak,
with
sir.
with the driest baked potato you can give them. I wanted a fucking brick. So anyway, she'll be there.
Kitty Cat 94, all names taken, Nash 15, Tattoo, and
Tattoot.
That's what it looks like. Yeah. And T Lane 198. Thank you guys for the awesome reviews.
Dave, internationally.
I've got Brian PC90 from Poland.
All right.
Fuji Sister from Canada, who I believe is Nevin Hewitt's mom. I believe Nevin Hewitt submitted a review a couple weeks ago. His wife didn't appreciate our spoiling of
Sopranos.
The Sopranos.
Oh, what the fuck?
A 20-year-old show.
Yeah,
It was
okay.
Seinfeld. It was Seinfeld.
Really?
You don't remember this?
I remember someone bitching about us spoiling, but I thought it was Sopranos.
Yeah, next week we're going to ruin I Love Lucy and how that show ended.
And MASH. Wait till we ruin MASH for you. And Cheers. What the fuck?
I Love Lucy.
That's unreal. The show ended in what, 1998? 99?
Like 30 years
I
ago.
was 12 years old when that fucking show ended.
It's like, oh my God, I was going to watch that someday.
Okay.
All right.
So her mother-in-law,
I believe it's her mother-in-law.
Gave us a
if
good
my
review.
memory's correct. Right.
it was like, ignore this dumbass. She ain't ever watching Seinfeld.
What do we got here?
We need to do a whole show.
It's too much. I can't go into the review. It's too much.
Can we please do a whole bonus show on just like spoiling?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to talk about the series finale of like 15 shows.
How did I Love Lucy wrap up?
Who knows? I don't know.
Some of those shows, I don't even know if they did. Like they just eventually that was the end of them.
It just
like back in the day that they didn't build to like finales. Did
Not
they?
like MASH. Like that was a big ending. That was one of the. It was like
wait. Spoiler. Skip ahead 30 seconds if you don't want to hear this. Go ahead, Dave. You got 30 seconds.
I was gonna say to that point that was the biggest like television event. I believe it was a big deal.
This show was on forever.
It was 1983-ish, maybe when MASH ended. It was a whole big deal, biggest TV audience, whatever. But, you know.
I don't know if I've ever seen the finale. I've seen, like,
it was good.
episodes.
Yeah,
it's a good show. Like, I can get into it.
Really good show.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I don't know if I remember the finale. Wasn't it more, like, it became serious, like, near the end, right? Like, it was like their struggle to get home from Vietnam, kind of. And,
it was always half comedy.
Or it was Korea.
Serious.
It was Korea.
It was Korea. Korea War.
But it was loosely kind of tied into Vietnam and all that, yeah.
But it's easier on the network censors and whatnot for the sensibilities of network TV.
All right.
It was a good show.
Ian, you want to ruin a show? Just pick one. Let's fucking ruin something.
Can I finish my shout outs first?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Carhartt 7 from Great Britain. Fuji Sister Nevit's mom was from Canada, if I forgot to say Canada. Carhartt 7 from Great Britain. 10 Pounds Gone from Canada. Spooky Gigi from Great Britain. And Tiberius is Best from Canada. So lots of good international.
A lot of Canada.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate that.
Go hockey.
We're going to ruin an ending now?
The first thing that popped in my head was Doug.
I loved Doug. I didn't know there was a series finale.
Oh, I don't know how it ended. I'm just saying that's the show that popped in my head.
All right, thanks for that, pal. I don't know what we're supposed to do with that.
Let's do Stranger Things season 4. I mean, we're here.
No, that's what did we say in the last when we were giving away the spoilers? We said at least a year you have to wait to give out a spoiler.
I think at least 5 years is fair.
No, I don't.
5 is fair.
Yeah, I don't think a year is fair.
No.
5.
I think at least a year you're allowed to talk about the show on a podcast without having to be like, oh, we got to tiptoe around this.
I think 5 is fair.
I think you guys.
I would not blow a show that's a year old.
But you could talk about it after a year. You just give people a warning and say, hey, if you don't want to know what we're going to talk about,
you
could still
I would
talk about it.
I would not burn the ending though.
No, I'm not saying we would fucking just be like, oh, by the way, this is how it ended, and like just fucking H-bomb them with it.
Yeah, not like we burned the ending to Seinfeld.
38 years after it ended. No, but I'm saying within a year of a movie or a TV show ending, you can talk about it freely and shouldn't have to worry.
I don't know. How old is Game of Thrones? How long ago was that?
It's been like a few years now.
Probably 3 years.
Because we ruined that. We've definitely talked about that.
Yeah.
As in the show itself didn't ruin it?
We might have been a little early in it. Ian and I get a lot of hate for liking
the finale.
For not bashing the finale of Game of Thrones.
I mean, I liked it, so.
I did not hate it.
I've heard from a lot of people, like just in my personal life, that they said that is one of the worst finales they've ever seen. I clearly have no info on the subject.
It was a little lazy, but we've had this discussion numerous times. I feel like
Let's fucking ruin it again.
I feel like I'm repeating myself, but like some stories are great, but there's not always an easy way to end it. And I think showrunners get faulted sometimes for these bad endings. Sometimes there's not a good ending. Sometimes you just need to wrap things up, and there's only one way they can go.
It's very hard to have an ending that's going to satisfy everybody.
It is.
For any
There's
show.
very few shows that have a satisfactory ending for all their fans. Game of Thrones, I didn't hate. Was it great? No, like people hate the last 2 seasons. Like they weren't bad.
No.
They had some missteps the last couple shows. I would have done things differently, but I mean, it could have been a lot worse, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people didn't like the fact that Daenerys went off the rails. They wanted her to be like this like this perfect queen.
Yeah.
I loved it. I'm like, fuck that whole place up with those dragons. Let's just light it
I
up.
thought it was great. I didn't hate it.
I'm like, kill everybody. Fuck this.
I thought it was fun.
I have not watched The Sopranos, either yet in its entirety. But I know there's also a lot of debate on that finale. And from what I've heard of the Sopranos finale, it sounds very good. Like, it legit. That's fun. A good finale.
Yeah, that was good.
We've ruined that one. We don't have to get into that again.
I know. I did see a longtime listener, Ginny, down in Arkansas, commented that we were no need to watch Sopranos.
I think she was probably kidding. They don't have internet down there. She can't watch it anyways. Unless she buys the DVD, she ain't watching it in Arkansas.
She get the laser disc of the first season.
There you go. Probably back then, right? What was that? Late 90s.
99.
So is that ran the same timeline as like West Wing?
It was
the same time. Because West Wing was like 98, 99.
Yeah, the pilot they shot, I believe, it took a long time for the pilot to get like bought and then HBO greenlighted. So the pilot was shot like 18 months before, the second episode. So people looked a little bit different. Kids were older, I think.
The kids looked really older at the end.
At the end, sure.
Yeah. Well, they grew up. It was time.
Yeah. I think it took a long time between the pilot and
the second episode.
And the second episode.
Oh, sorry.
That's what he was saying.
Beginning.
Like they didn't pick it up in time, and then HBO was finally like, "Oh, we'll take this."
That sounds right.
Well, fuck! Now we got to film a season out of this.
Yeah, AJ looks real young in the pilot versus the second episode.
Yeah.
You can tell we haven't been together in a while because we've been rambling for how long now?
Yeah, we're having a lot of the same conversations.
Meanwhile, tomorrow we have to record 2 more episodes.
Yeah,
for Patreon. Some fun content coming out.
First wrestling show on Patreon.
I think we're going to call it The Wrestling Show.
The Wrestling Show.
I think I just like The Wrestling Show. But yeah, we're going to try that at the $10 tier for a month.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
If it sucks, we'll get rid of it.
Right. I'm not married to anything.
No.
And that'll be at the $10 level coming out later this month. So if you're interested in hearing us talk about wrestling, we can mention the topic. We're going to be covering the career and the life of the immortal Hulk Hogan. So if you're interested in hearing us talk about that, that'll be out later this month. Patreon.com/Necronomipod. We're going to do an every other month the rest of the year between that and Necro Night the movies. The wrestling show and Necro Night the movies. So mix it up a little bit.
With a possible Mike History show thrown in there, maybe?
Not
at some point.
2022, no.
Your thumbs down in that for 2022?
Not even on the radar, pal. I already got my 3 wrestling shows panned out. Ian's got some good input on that. We need to come up with some movie shows, and then we'll take it from there.
A lot of good movies out there.
Not Black Box or Black Phone. Halfway.
Now I will admit that's too soon for a spoiler, though. To talk about
just
that
came
one.
out like 2 days ago.
We've all already seen it. Kayfabe seen it. Still we've seen it. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Necronomipod. Amazon.com. Search Necronomipod for all of our merch. We are working on new designs and working with Amazon to get those uploaded. So stand by. We'll get some new stuff up there soon, hopefully. Necronomipod.com. We got stickers. And what else? Patreon.com/Necronomipod. You probably haven't heard that yet tonight. Thank you.
All right, you guys ready for a cool down beer?
Cheers.